We are going on a regular session going into the Eagle Bank shareholders meeting. Oh, yeah. Okay. SK. Okay. SK Bank Corporation shareholder meeting. So first item of business, we need to approve the last meeting minutes. Motion to approve those minutes with corrections. Motion by Len to approve the SK Bank shareholder meeting minutes with corrections. Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Yeah, press the red button, Ralph. We'll get you recorded that way.
Okay, that's
I can indict you later on your comments that way.
I'll keep them short. Anyway, good afternoon, everybody. We're proud to be here to talk about SK Bank Corporation and Eagle Bank, what our status is. And the first thing we have is our audit, I believe. Is that going to come up first? I think it starts. Yep. We had another successful audit. Let's go to page, the independent report. Yeah, 1 and 2. Real clean, got a satisfactory, and I think we got everything going well. Page 2. Whatever you want to do. Andrew does it all the time. I don't.
That's fine. You want to do that, Martin? That's good. Okay. There we go. Okay. I mean, sorry about that. Things touchy.
So we'll go over the financials with you. So go ahead, Andrew. You.
Good afternoon. It's good to see all of you. Some of you I haven't seen for a long time. Hi, Jim. So we'll just take a look at this real quick. These are our consolidated financial statements for Eagle Bank for the years 2020, 2021. This is a very sort of summarized financial statement. It doesn't have every general ledger account, but it shows what we, our primary business is making loans. So this is interest income and interest expense shows in 2020 we made about 2.9 in interest income. 2021 very similar years. Our net income was only different by $10,000 between 2021 and 2020. So we had a interesting thing happened in 2020 with the advent of COVID. The Federal Reserve dropped the interest rates really, really low, and the result of that was we had what we like to call as a refinance boom. And then also, as you all have been wrestling and you understand with this issue of people moving in like crazy to the reservation, we had a lot of purchase money loans and a lot of refinance loans, and it really blew up. And our loan fee income, you can see, was very high, over $1 million. Loan origination fees. It's in the non-interest income about halfway down, where the cursor is here. Thank you. Thank you. Prior to that, we'd been well below $1 million. It just, when the interest rates dropped, it was kind of a trifecta between, there's a refinance boom, people moving in like crazy. So it was really good for the bank in terms of we did a lot of business. We did a lot of 184 loans, HUD 184 loans, which I think you're all familiar with those. And it's just been a couple good years. Traditionally, in a low interest rate environment, it's difficult for the bank to make as much money because the interest rate spread between what we're earning and what we're paying on deposits gets damaged. I mean, and we did suffer a lot of margin compression. We try to structure our loans in a way, our commercial loans anyway, that we'll fix them for 5 years. And the idea behind that is it protects us. So if rates drop, we still have a margin protection. But the reality of the situation is every customer comes in and demands that we lower the rates. So that's called being asset sensitive. We try not to be in a falling rate environment, but we end up being that way. But even though we had some pretty significant margin compression, we still were able to compensate that with the increased loan origination fees. So we've had a couple, really good years. We've finished in very high in our peer analysis compared to other banks our size in terms of financial performance. So it's been good. It's been good. If anybody has any questions about the income statement, I'm happy to answer those. If not, we can switch right to the balance sheet.
I need to probably back up. I apologize, Jennifer, because I'm not sure you know everybody here. Do you? Would you guys mind introducing yourselves? Jennifer's
I apologize.
really new to everybody. I know Jimmy's been around like me, so but could you do that, please? Yeah, I just was thinking, Jennifer and Jimmy and I, miss all you kind of behind on orientations and stuff like that. So, but sorry about that, Jennifer.
Well, that's good because we got a lot of information to share with you today, and Jennifer, jump in and ask us anytime.
Did anybody have any questions on the net income statement? Okay, we can hop over to the balance sheet. If I can make this thing work. Well, okay, did I go? Okay. Well, that's touchy. This is a balance sheet, just shows, sort of our, our financial position. We have just, at year end, we were $97 million in assets. 7 years ago when I started, we were $50 million in assets. Today, we're $107 million in assets. So we've doubled the size of the bank in the last 7 years. A lot of that has to do, and we've talked about this with some of you who've been here for a while, and the tribes are a big supporter of our bank, and they put a lot of money in the bank. And some of it we keep on our balance sheet, and some of it we move off of our balance sheet. We have to do that to keep our capital ratios where they need to be. But the support from the tribes has allowed us to grow the bank at a pretty rapid pace. If we had to rely on, just running around opening checking accounts and savings accounts for consumers, we would never be able to grow the way we were because we don't have enough locations. And in Polson alone, there's 6 banks. If you count Whitefish Credit Union, we have one of my really good friends banks in Helena, and he was lamenting that there's 14 banks in Helena, but there's 40,000 people in Helena. So they have 2,856 people per bank. In Polson, we have 5,000 people, and we have 6 banks, 900 people per bank. It's tough. So the beauty of the support of the tribal, council, and also the finance department, that they use their own bank, is it cannot be understated or overstated how important that is, because we couldn't grow and we couldn't do the things that we're doing. We couldn't help the people that we're helping without that support. So every time I come here, I always want to express my appreciation for that, because it makes my life a whole lot easier, and it gives us an opportunity to do things that we just really could not do. I mean, we wouldn't be able to help the entrepreneurs. We wouldn't be able to help the businesses. We wouldn't be able to help people get into homes. I mean, it really opens our ability to be useful to not only the tribal members, but also just the people in the community. So around 107 million, that kind of fluctuates because the tribes do move money in and out. So, and then we do also sort of artificially manipulate it, but it's been good for us. We've added, if you count the income today, we've added about $6 million in capital. I think Ralph and I looked at it this morning, and I think if Martin can, I think there was $5.5 million of it initial capital investment by the tribes. And we've added about 5.5 million of that, to that over the last few years. So, there was some initial startup losses, just like any business would. We're sitting at $10.7 million in capital now. And then, the other fascinating thing is that our return on assets, we're ahead of our peer group nationally. Our return on assets was 1.76. That's in the upper quartile. Our return on equity last year was in the 14% range. I think this year, and we'll talk about this when we look at our report, we're down a little bit. In 2022, interest rates have jumped back up, and that killed the refinance boom and nobody's financing houses now. I projected about a 40% decline. We've had about a 75% decline in mortgage applications. So it's okay. We grew about $8 million this year in second quarter in loans, which, then we earn interest income off those. So we if we can't get it here, we try to get it here. So we're still doing okay. We're not on pace to make quite as much as we did last year, but we're working hard. We'll be close, but not quite as much. So does anybody have any questions about the balance sheet?
I'll just say this, when we started talking about the bank in 1995, when we had our retreat, we talked about how's the tribe going to stand on their own with, if all the federal money went away, how could we do it? And banking was one of them. We looked at credit unions, we looked at co-oping or joint venture with other banks. Finally, we decided we had to stand alone. We'll talk a little more about it when we get there, but I remember Bob Goche being on there. And he said, the day we get to be $100 million bank will be pretty significant. And we're that. Plus you probably got what, 50 million off the books, 60 million off the books.
Yeah.
So really we're $160 million bank. Of course, Mission Valley Power's got some money there and some others too of your corporations or Mission Valley Power. It's a contract. I understand that. Someday it'll be a corporation maybe. But, anyway, it's a goal that we talked about many years ago, and it's came to fruition, and we're going to share a little with you at the end. And the reason we've been growing is we haven't shared everything. We share 10% so we can continue to build our capital, but it is really important to keep doing that. The regulators look at that hard, but it is all tribal money in the long run. Thank you.
Yeah,
no questions.
And that, Ralph, thank you for that. I really appreciate that, because I think back in the years, I know when I first got on council, because one of the first questions that came to my mind is, why would we get into the banking business when we have all of these banks in our community, And, I sat down with Vern on a couple of occasions, and he explained to me what our strategy was and how we were going about this. And by following the strategy that you just outlined, and you nailed it down to the T, and here we are, So I'm very, very impressed with Eagle Bank and SNK Bancorp on staying the course and keeping us disciplined to make sure that we're doing what we're doing and continue to do what we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. We got a great team there, and we'll talk a little more about that when we get to the Eagle Bank stuff. But yeah, thank you.
I don't know if anyone has any other questions about the financial audit. If you don't, we can skip to the little report that I prepared that just kind of summarizes some things and talks about our current position, and happy to go through that with you, or Ralph can, one or both of us. So
Any questions about the audit? Seeing none, go ahead, move on.
okay, let's see.
Tom, we'll need a motion accepting the audit.
Oh, okay. Motion by Len to accept the audit. Second by Jimmy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you. Eagle Bank, lifetime of service, lifetime of friendship. And we really tried to go there. The bank officially opened, Martin and the staff opened July 25th, 2006. And of course, one of our things was to offer Eagle Bank wanted to offer small dollar loans, check cashing for non-customer, check cashing for that are not on us. And we continue to do that today. And also get people using the bank that have never had the bank and work with them to understand banking and be successful at that. A lot of that's came around, and you'll see the numbers of our customers and those kind of things is greatly increased. And mobile banking has really allowed us to bank people that aren't in the community or on the other end of the reservation, because we only have one bricks and mortars. We, as a bank board, have talked about trying to open another bank someplace else, but boy, the cost of having that is huge. And so mobile banking, we think, is the answer. And people are using it. I know Bing gets on his account every day and checks how much money he's got in it. But it's amazing. The new generation demands that, and we finally got that going. We're real happy about that. Eagle Bank is state chartered community bank regulated by Federal Insurance Deposit Insurance Corporation and Montana Department of Administration, Division of Banking and Financial Institutes. When we first started, Martin, we tried to do a federal charter. Go ahead and talk about that just a little.
When we first got started, the consensus of the board was to do a charter with the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, a federal charter, and not have a state charter. And we worked on that for about a year and a half. And then it was one of the most frustrating experiences of my life trying to get a charter through the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. As we were getting started, there was a fellow by the name of Bundy. No, I'm forgetting the gentleman's name who was the Western manager that we had to deal with through the application process. And I knew it wasn't going to go well when we had our first phone conversation, and he was quizzing me a little bit about, okay, now you're retained to charter a bank for the tribes. Are you currently a bank president? I said, no. Are you currently working in a bank? I said, no, I'm on a consulting basis at the moment. He said, have you ever been a bank president? I said, no, but I've managed banks. I've worked with them. I've got a fairly good background. You're not qualified to charter a bank. And I thought, this is going to be an uphill battle if we stay with these guys. But we worked at it for a year or so, and we were using a law firm, Lindquist and Venom, who specialize in a lot of tribal work, and most all of the tribal banks, they handled the limited waiver sovereign immunity and things for them. And finally, after visiting with them and expressing some frustration, I was able to get the rest of the board to agree to go with the state charter. And we filed the application for a state charter, and within 90 days, we had our hearing and our application was approved. So it went a whole lot easier that way. So
I know we met with the feds from San Francisco and all over, and we just couldn't answer all their questions and make them happy. I remember them challenging me as a board member, well, what's your accounting background? I said, well, I don't have one, but I run a couple corporations for the tribe, or businesses that the tribe has that does over millions of dollars in transactions all the time, and we haven't lost a penny yet, and they didn't think that was funny. So anyway, it was a different group. So we did go to the state.
Tell me, what is the advantage of having a federal charter over a state charter?
there's no real advantage one way or the other. It's just a different group of people who supervise the bank. But there was some thought among some of the original board members that it would be nice not having a state charter and deal with the politics of a state supervision over the tribal bank. And that was kind of the original thought when we started to move forward with that.
Good question. So the second paragraph talks about, I've never seen anybody audited as much by the state of Montana FDC. They come every 18 months, one of them, and they'll have a representative from the other party with them. And so banking's really regulated. We've been really lucky. I don't believe we've had, you can get a 1, 2, or 3. I don't believe we've had more than 1, 3. And the rest have been 1s and 2s. And we just got a 1 last year, which is phenomenal. You just don't see that.
We've never had a 3.
Never had it.
Never had 3. I was just trying to be generous.
Sometimes they rate us in 5 areas: capital, asset management, liquidity, and interest rate sensitivity. So all those are on a 1, 2, and 3. 3 is you need help and you're probably going to get in trouble. 2 is you're doing fine. 1 is outstanding. Our last 2 exams that we've had 1s across the board. We've had us composite rating 1, and every category has been 1. That's not easy to do. We have an exam coming in September. I've got all my fingers and toes crossed. We're trying to keep all our T's crossed and our I's dotted so we can get another 1, because now that we've had a couple, we really like that. Trying to maintain a level of excellence. It's hard to do, but we're going to continue to try to do it. So we've been pretty fortunate and developed some good relationships with the examiners too, which is also a little bit of a, I mean, you can't buy them donuts, but you can be nice to them. So
Answer their questions when they want to be answered.
Right.
Provide the material.
We take them golfing, right?
The other part that we look at really hard is we have a rated outstanding in community reinvestment. So that means that we work with all the public, whether it be native or whoever, but it's based on native. Yeah.
So our market area defined by the Community Reinvestment Act is the Flathead Indian Reservation. And what they do is they come in and they do samples of our loans to see if we are adequately serving all sectors of the community, and particularly those that are left, sort of disenfranchised, which goes along with our mandate, right, of helping the underbanked and unbanked. And we put a lot of time and effort into that. We've written policy to that. We have, gotten rid of minimum account balances, check cashing fees. We've done everything we can to make it easy to bank here, particularly for people that maybe don't have $250 to have a minimum account balance and things. And then they review all the things that we do and then our involvement in the community, and then they rate us. Are you adequate? Are you satisfactory? Whatever. And our last one we had was outstanding, and we're hoping to do that again. It's not super easy to achieve an outstanding CRA rating because they really look at you tight. But, I'm hopeful that we will, because I feel like, between the ag loans that we do and the consumer loans and the HUD 184 home loans that we do, I feel like we could make a strong case for it. So we'll just have to see how that's coming this fall too. So the next time I come back to talk to you, I'll be able to tell you how it went.
And Andy talked about our small consumer loans and our residential loans, real estate, and talked about the HUD 184 loans. We had 60 in the last 3 years and continue to have some activity there. Because the interest rates going up, people are being a little more squirmish about getting a home loan. But I look around here and some of us paid 13% for our first home in the 80s. 5% doesn't seem too bad to me, but after going from 2.5, you think, oh, this is terrible, but it's really not. I remember in the 80s when I built my place, I went, just checked at the credit union, and I think I went over to the Ronan Community Bank, and they said 13 to 18%, depending what your status was and how much you had to have and that kind of stuff. Went up here to Tribal Credit with 7%. I almost kissed the floor. And now I think you got it to 5%. So it's a really good program, and glad to see the tribal members able to get the HUD home. It's really beneficial to them and us.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add one thing. Jody Perez and I from housing, and I and my mortgage lender Mariah Lendine just met with Bob Gochi and the executive director of USDA Rural Development. And we're going to be able to start doing RD loans or rural development loans on tribal trust ground. And you will see, which, yeah, this is a really exciting thing because the HUD 184s are great, 2.25% down, plus you pay your closing costs. You can get into an RD loan with nothing down, but there's always been a lot of problems because there's no secondary market outlet for us to sell those loans. So and nobody will do them. Well, now First Tribal Lending, who we sell our 184 loans to, they've agreed to buy RD loans on tribal trust ground. So they're working on a memorandum of understanding that will eventually come before you, between you, USDA, and First Tribal, that so we can effectively, then we'll be able to do RD loans on trust ground, which will open up, it doesn't matter if it's commercial lending, home lending, anything. Down payment is always the barrier to entry. And if we can get rid of that, and if people, it's hard to scratch up 30, 40, 50, whatever, even 10 grand is hard to scratch up. So if we can eliminate that barrier to entry, that's going to give us an opportunity to provide a lot more, people that just couldn't quite get it together for the 184s, they'll be able to get a house now or build a house or whatever. So that's kind of an exciting thing. And I just wanted to make the council aware of that we're working on that with USDA, because it's a really big breakthrough, I think. And a lot of props to Bob too, because and Jody, because they've been working really hard on that. So you will see.
That's good news. Go ahead, Lam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I always wondered about that. Why, after getting the 184 developed and created here on the reservation, and then you turn around and sell them to a different financial institution, what is the purpose of that? I mean, what was your thinking behind that?
Yep, I can explain that. It's really easy. So the reason that we sell them is because banks have this thing called interest rate risk, which has to do with essentially, okay, let me back up. We have it's called net interest margin. It's the interest we're earning on loans less the interest we're paying on deposits. Okay. If mortgages are fixed for 30 years, but our cost of deposits, it just goes up and down, right? Based on what the market is. So if I made a 30-year fixed rate loan and then my deposit cost came up and it was as high as the rate on the loan or even higher, I could literally be losing money and going backwards. So to alleviate that, what's happened is there's been investors and they securitize these loans and they sell them in billion-dollar blocks. And so we'll originate these loans and then we'll sell them to a secondary market lender who then puts them in a thing and they sell bonds, and it essentially they eliminate the interest rate risk for themselves. They take a really thin slice, like 1%, but it keeps us from running the risk of ending up upside down essentially in a loan and actually losing money on it. So the FDIC and the state would never, we would never and cannot really originate a 30-year fixed rate loan and hold it in-house because of the interest rate risk that goes along with that. So in order to be able to offer a product like that, we have to find somebody who will buy those, and they know how, then they trade in them. So it's a frustration sometimes for consumers because you get these notices that, yeah, you're making your payment to somebody you don't know who it is.
Bank.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the way it goes. But we have to do that to maintain the safety and soundness of the bank. Otherwise, we could end up losing money on a loan. So, yeah.
Understood.
So,
thank you, Andy.
yeah, you bet. That's the reason behind.
Good question, Leonard. That's hard for everybody to put their hands on. I know we do hold some loans. Some people don't quite qualify for an HD 184. They need to get some credit kind of cleaned up or something paid off or whatever. We'll hold those in-house for couple years or so until we try to get them so they do qualify for. So we do have some that we haul in, but we couldn't hold all of them. Okay, ATMs, not much change there, although there has been a request to put one into Bison Range. So we're looking at that. So there'll be an ATM inside the visitor center. Mobile banking. I mentioned that earlier. It's just amazing how people use that, including myself. And it's the future. There's no doubt about it. Then you can kind of see our customer base if there's no other questions about that stuff. The next page kind of shows the average of the assets as we've grown over the years. As Andy said, we're over 100 million now. Net income. As Andy said, we're not expecting to be 1.4 this year, but we'll be over 1 million. So we're happy about that. Andy was talking about the return on equity, and it's coming up again. So that's good. That's return on what you've invested on it. So. Any questions on that page?
Any questions? I guess back up on the run on the home loans. Was there also an increase in auto loans?
It's an interesting question, and it's something that we've talked about a lot at our bank. When I started in 2015, we did 90 small loans a month. Some of them were car loans, and that's dropped off. We're doing 25 now. Why is that? Something's always puzzled me. There is, and so what's happening in the consumer loan realm? So to answer your question quickly, no, we didn't see a big jump in car loans. We haven't seen a jump. We've seen nothing but a decline in car loans for the last years. The reason is because there's all these other delivery channels now. You go to the car dealership, they'll get, I can't sell car loans at 3%, but they can. So you're not going to go buy a car and say, I'm going to go to my bank. I'll be back in a couple of days and I'm going to go pay 8%. And no, you're going to sit down. They're going to do it for you, charge you 3%, 3.5%, 4%, whatever. And you're going to walk out of there with your brand new car. And that's really put a cramp in our style when it comes to consumer lending. And it's not just us. I mean, and also fintechs, if you guys are familiar, that's a technical finance company. They have apps. You just go online, punch your stuff in, and they put it in your bank account. I mean, it's no fuss, no muss.
Yeah, I understand it with new cars. I thought maybe with the used car market being such a
Well,
huge thing.
No, the thing is that used cars are costing more than they have cost more than the new cars.
Indeed.
So but no, we haven't seen a big increase in that. And I think the price of new cars used cars are starting to come back down a little bit. But yeah, we haven't seen a big increase on that. Consumer lending has been a little puzzling. And it's just, I've talked about it with a lot of my colleagues in the business. And
So the bill, the bipartisan infrastructure law, and then the new bill that just was signed regarding climate change initiatives. Is there anything that is beneficial there as far as your operation is the future?
Not to my knowledge. I sit on this committee for the FDIC. There's 18 bankers in the country, and so I got on it. And they're making us build in. There's going to be climate risk assessments that we have to build into our strategic plan, and which is fascinating because we really kind of, when you think about agricultural loans, we're already doing that, right? Because we look at weather and conditions and things. So it'll be interesting to see how that rolls out. But I haven't seen anything that I would consider beneficial at this point. But it's definitely a factor and it's not going away. There's no doubt about that. So hopefully that kind of answered your questions. I don't know why the car loan, I know why the car loan business has dropped off, but I don't know why the used car. I mean, I think there was more being sold because of the lack of the chips, right? And it drove the market up. But I think it's starting to come down a little bit. So
Yeah, depends on the brand. Any other comments or questions?
I think that was a good question. The other thing that tribal credit has been allowed to liberalize their loaning. And I think that's taken away some of our customers, which is fine. It's all good. But our numbers dropped when that liberalization came along. We talk to Pete once a year to see how it's going.
Yeah, I know they help with the automobile loans and those private sales, and so do the credit unions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Credit unions want your business. It's amazing. Okay. Thank you for that question.
I just want to add one quick thing. The credit unions that's a major point of like a hot button issue for, we belong to the Montana Independent Bankers and the ICBA, which is Independent Community Bankers of America. And, credit unions are non-taxable. So because they're non-tax, they can sell money super cheap and we can't compete with that. And it's a real struggle. It's an uneven playing field. So they get a huge market share of car loans, and we just have we'll help anybody that wants to help in the consumer realm, but we understand that we got to make our money somewhere else now. And that's just kind of a fact of life. So you got to sort of roll with it,
Andy talked about average loan balances. You can see how it's grown over the years. We're having another good year this year. And, but of the 71 million, 23 is not being used right now.
No, that's in addition to the 71.
Oh, in addition to it, I'm sorry, I misread that. And, example of that is some of the CDs you put in. We have one with SK Electronics. They've been doing good enough. They haven't had to use that $2 million. But when they do need it, they can come and get it because you have that CD there. And there's some others, gaming has one with us, and I think we're looking to establish a new one if we can get everything aligned for their build for the next one. So we appreciate your team working with us on that, your financial team and whatnot. We're very proud of our team. We have 16 full-time members. You can see 4 members of other tribes, 2 descendants, and 1 member of the CSKT. There are 7 tribal affiliates that have accounts with Eagle Bank and 3 have loans. I guess I jumped the gun there. And as Andy said, this relationship is greatly appreciated by the bank, and it's really what makes the bank go. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. Ralph and the rest of the board, I just wanted to mention to you, your staff has the utmost highly professional customer service. I notice that every time I go in there, and I'm just very proud of them. And if you just relay that message and let them know. So let them know that council does notice their work that they're doing over there. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will pass that on. We do every time. I know Carol asked a couple of days if anybody washed, a couple of times to me, anybody wash windows around here? Boy, we got right after, and it's good for people to see things and share with us what they see. I'm sorry she's not here today, and I think we got a new roof and we're getting new paint, do it. And you'll see our signs shine at night. The street sign always did, but we put some on the bank now. And
one more coming.
We're very proud of it. So it's your bank and we're very proud to be part of the group that oversees helping with that. But we are really lucky to have the 16 full-time employees. They do a good job. And we had a couple other tribal members, but they had better opportunities, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
We've lost 2 to come work for the tribes. So I've had to bump up the pay a little on the tellers to try to keep them all going.
That's good.
So Andrew, have you had any input with the SKC and kind of curriculum that might behoove you in hiring people out of the college?
So interesting that you asked that. We've had a couple interns, and one of the interns that we had, she is a part of my succession planning. Her name's Danielle Peterson, and she was a 4.0 student at SKC. And we brought her in as an intern when she was in college. And then she came to work for us. And then she went and got her master's degree at the U of M. And then Brian Lipscomb stole her from me. And then she came back. And I am grooming her to hopefully succeed me when I retire. She is a really brilliant gal. And, we're always looking for interns from the college. Now, when I just ended my term as the president of the Montana Independent Bankers, but I'm still a board member. And we did a program with Montana State where they had a banking program that they put together, and it worked okay. And there were some interns that came out, but I told them I'm not taking an intern if I'm going to take interns come from SKC. And so what we've decided to do is we're going to start shifting is we're working with Opportunity Bank. They came up with the curriculum that they took to community college in Helena. And what we're planning to do is try to take that as a pilot program and see how it works. And if it works well, then instead of just trying to have a banking program at U of M or Montana, we're going to try to bring this program and this curriculum to like SKC. And then hopefully we can recruit some interns. You know, we don't have a ton of turnover and we don't have a lot of employees, but you know, even if nothing else, we can train people and they can go work at another bank and have a
Absolutely.
career, you know, because it's a great career. Yeah, so that's what we're shooting for. And but Danielle is, she is like exactly how you would draw one up, right? I mean, came to us, she was just a college kid, and now she just keeps moving up in the company, and I'm doing everything I can to teach her everything I know. And we're a fabulous team. I am just fortunate. I don't know. I know Lynn knows a lot of the people that work at the bank, but we have been able to create a team of people at Eagle Bank that is unbelievable amount of talent for Polson, Montana. I mean, I go all across the country. I'm all across the state you know, and I talk to bankers all over the place. And I don't know how we did it, but we have some really smart people, which I'm grateful for, right? Because they make me look better than I am, but they're wonderful. So if you ever get a chance, swing in, say hi. I'll introduce you to some people. I've got Danielle, and then, you know, I mean, just really good people. And that's the name of the game, right? The team building. So anyway, yeah. So we'll try to bring some more, you know, I sit with Ralph on the SKC Foundation board, so we're into it.
Cool. Thank you. Well, that's right. Surround yourself with really capable people. That's one success. The other thing, and Lynn, and I mean, I'll echo that, customer service is so critical. So you know, every person that comes into that bank, every person that reaches out to that bank for any service or that the bank provides, it really, you know, you want them to have a very gratifying experience, and that's how you maintain and increase and have that growth. It's nice to have the tribes as a partner, of course, but you know, it's really, customer service is really critical, and we want to expand that in every aspect of this government.
Yeah.
And so you are a role model to good customer service. I can point at the bank and look, this is the way that, you know, we like to see every branch of government, you know, besides private enterprise or corporations. We'd like to role model that everywhere.
We have a culture there that we will help people and do I mean, I've told everyone, you cannot focus on the bottom line. You focus on doing the right thing and you focus on helping people, and the money just comes, right? Because when you're really good to people, they tell all their friends. Like 98 to 99%, we track how we get our business, and 98, 99% of it is word of mouth referral. So you cannot risk the reputational risk of not being good to people. Even if it costs, do the right thing, even if it costs us money. I don't care, because we'll get our money back. And everybody bought into that. And it's really nice that they understand how that works, right? It's like paying it forward or karma or whatever you want to call it. But it does work. And we appreciate that, and we're going to keep trying.
Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew said he's trying to teach her all that he knows. Some of it we'll have to unteach as she takes over, you know, so.
We worked, you know, the forestry program. We had to do that for a long time after Ralph left. Had to unteach things.
Oh, wait, my turn to say about natural resources.
Hey.
You said you surround yourself with good people. That's
Oh,
why.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, we're just really proud of what we got going, and you know, we are a community bank. There's more people from Polson coming in to use our bank, get loans from us. The team's done a good job of reaching out. You'll see them at every function and putting our face out there, and so you can be proud of what we're getting done. I'm going to close. Jack, you got any comments other than you're glad to be back at Lake Moran, Lewin?
Little fire danger there. Yep.
Maggie?
No comment, just very proud of the bank and thank you for your wonderful support.
Thank you, Maggie.
Martin?
Just good to see you all again. Good to be here.
It's always great to have your expertise. We would never done anything without you, Martin. So you're brutally honest.
He started the bank well. He laid the groundwork good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Again, we had to tell Andy not to do it Martin's way all the time, but it's all good. Really proud of him. And we do have a little share with you. As you saw, we made $1.4 million 100,000, and we're gonna give you a dividend check of $150,000. So,
Nice.
thank you.
All right.
And
Good
as you
job.
know, we could do more, but we gotta keep that to build up our capital. That's why we got it, so.
Absolutely. That's understandable. Thank you.
And
Good
you,
job.
I'll give this, you earned it. You and the
Good job,
team
Ralph.
earned it.
We need a picture, Jen.
Thank you guys for having us in today. And Jen and Jimmy, if Jennifer and Jim, if you guys ever need more information about the bank, call one of us or stop by.
You gotta accept the report. Okay. I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mike to accept the annual report by SK Bank Corp. Second by Martin. All those in favor? Unanimous. He's there. Well, you know, that's thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Good job.
Good work.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Get on
day.
the golf course Friday, Ralph.
Thank you, Belda.
Heard you're cutting back on mulligans and finnegans. I can't buy them or what? Isn't it a fundraiser? Buy that golf turf. Thank you, Ralph. Good presentation. Man, he does wonders. Okay, we have a couple items for executive session.
Uh-oh.